ACUA subject on the table, video number 13 of that series TPU device, part number 2. So within the subject of ACUA, we were covering the main device, which was more than 1 kilowatt of power with no battery, no power supply at all, a perfectly working device. And another device that is a TPU. TPU concept was first presented by Stephen Marks, and then there was a number of tries. From the last minute information, there is a number of people who are able to repeat right now, and the schematic is available on overunity.com, Energetic Forum, and the Russian forums, realstronic.com. Although it powers a small LED device, it does it this way that the power supply is no longer needed. In this video, ACUA is trying to explain to us the similarities that he found out between the mechanical rotary devices and his concept that you see on the right, the schematic with 4 transistors where 2 of 4 channels would be the frequency dependence, channel 1 with 2, channel 3 with 4. Again, frequency and phase independent. What he's trying to explain to us is that the winding that is on the armature, on the rotator, is working in opposite force to the core on it. That means the eddy current that is within the rotor is opposing to the electromagnetic field of the coil by itself. And now he says that it doesn't matter that we are dealing with the mechanical, electromechanical, electromagnetic or magnetic devices. The concept of the motion equation should be brought to the same few factors. Although I have a problem to understand him, and I admit that there was a video in the past that I simply skipped, because for me it was something that was so radical that I couldn't believe. Further down, ACUA postulates that this electromagnet that you see on the motor is in the TPU as well. Then he says that the focusing coil, which is black and white squares on the CRT, serves exactly the same function as the coil on the electric motor or generator, as the electric motor could become a generator if it's reversing function. ACUA also postulates that the focusing coil, which is marked as an electromagnetic focusing the lenses on this picture, was at first models of the CRTs placed too close to the horizontal vertical deflection coils, just because it was more convenient, and that would be decreed to the CRT, which manifests itself in explosion. What I think he's trying to point at transforming reaction between electromagnetic focusing lensing coil and the one that is sitting on the ferrite yoke, which is a horizontal vertical deflection coil, and he's mentioning a sort of back EMF. We do not have a core per se, but then we have the electron flow between the electron gun and the CRT screen. So he may postulate a certain analogy of the current that is being induced in the coil on the yoke, which would be the tilting coil, and the back interaction of the electromagnetic fields to the primary focusing coil, and at the same time we have an electron beam serving as an active and dynamic medium in that particular interaction, sort of open core. Oh boy, eureka, I just got something. It's not ACUA. Maybe if ACUA is knowing that, he's not telling that, but maybe he doesn't even know that. Lithuania experiment, guys. Lithuania experiment. There was the yoke that was not sitting on the neck of the CRT. There was the yoke that was giving it on my own eyes in front of me at maximum. About 1 kilowatt of power. Although I didn't see 1 kilowatt, I saw on my own eyes 600 watts of power triggered by many watts after mismatch of impedance, maybe micro watts, giving in the input. We didn't have per se the medium of the electron flow of the CRT tube. Guys, think about it. Over unity.com, guys, closest to you, but also Energetic Forum. Think about it. Plasma, not necessarily plasma, but ionization of the matter around. That would be a medium, making atoms to act as an ions. there is definitely something in it, and I have to go deeper into it. Go to my channel, search for Lithuania experiment, or go to internet and search for Lithuania experiment. Try to find more about it. There is something in it. Maybe Aqua doesn't know about it yet. The major problem that he's got is that his device is geoposition dependent. I'm going to give you a little preview of Lithuanian experiment. We had two parts of it, which was one was the Carousel coil, and the other one was based on Samuel that is sitting on the top of the CRT tube.
That is drawing approximately 15 watts, getting 1 kilowatt of power, ready to be used by the load. One more time, let's look at the B-filter. Two windings, 15 and 50 watts on one side and B-filter from the other side. Recommended 150 watts on it. Now you see it working right now. Now the discovery as of today, again, two pieces of paper put in between two halves of the ferrite that made it happen, but another one was on its way. In the last video I suggested to concentrate on the dipole antenna with the coaxial cable inside, where one half is active, the other one is not.
And we must connect per gap counter, but still working. And we just find a couple minutes ago, we need paper between ferrites. We have better output.
So I see the two pieces of paper being put in between two ferrites, which improve the performance. Regular dipole antenna has the active element and counterpoise or the balance on it, and we were able to eliminate the plant wire by simply putting another wire on hanging by itself, although we didn't have the impedance match at that point. Watch the discovery live in progress when it happened. Two hands paradox.
Вот две руки.
Да.
Ничего нету. Такой парадокс. Он самодействует как-то странно со землей. Вот две руки.
Ha-ha! Again discovery live in progress while is happening now.
А где ты дотронулся?
Hence create the capacitors.
Конденсаторы. На другом проводе ничего. Вот.
Only one wire from 16 white winding.
Держи, 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 так как ты держишь.
Hold it, hold it.
А слушай, а там конденсатора никакого нету, ты просто
You don't have any capacitor over there.
ты делаешь конденсатор руками.
Да. Не могу понять,
Yes.
как это работает. Но надо было конденсаторами
The time is
порегулировать.
2 o'clock p.m.
Then we change the body capacitance to the piece of wire.
Понятно yet that, so what you gotta do is, my particular situation, don't think about the pipe yet. You take the bright, you put it here, you fold it, and you put it out inside, and you have another side in here. So, what are we having in here? We have a dead bright that is mounted on the inner edge of that ferrite, goes in here, is connected with a piece of wire, or it's connected with unpad, and is folded and comes from the other side. And you have two ends in here. Two ends. Now, you follow these ends, and it goes further. So again, one wind, 50 winds. The second wind is 15 winds. The third wind is the B-filler one. You take two wires about approximately 10 meters long. So that will be 20 meters. You fold it in half, so you have 10 pieces, 10 meters long now, together. You wind them, both of them. Now you take edge of the one, connect to the beginning of the second one. You have one end in here, one end over there. The next step.
What about that you're gonna be able to find at a video that is on my channel? There's a set of videos called Lithuania Experiment. We have not been able to see so many of details at that time, but right now from the time-based perspective, I am able to see the missing links. Definitely the structure and the material of the ferrite is important. Aqua have mentioned on his videos that he was not able to achieve the result or the success with certain ferrites, but the most working one was the one that was from Russian TV Rubin. And what I believe, the vacuum that is inside the CRT tube, which is nothing more or less but the electron gun, which is the electron accelerator that is used in the CERN and other accelerators, that's what it is, could be replaced by no vacuum medium in form of ions, and I have explained what ions means in this video. So at best of my belief, we see a progress, and also possibly we getting into the Toriel Capenaza secrets never explained by him. We know that one of the very much important factors in all is a ground wire, but the ground wire could be replaced with a counterpoise, which would be the floating ground. And we also know that we need a high voltage electrostatic field for that, along with the frequency of low frequency, which would be probably about 50 hertz, that acts as a carrier, and high peaks frequency that starts from 0 in the Cartesian sine wave to approximately the peak. But the amplitude of those peaks has to be much higher than the amplitude of the carrier, and they stop right immediately after the maximum of the carrier amplitude. And here Echo explains that here you see on the Steven Marks TPU the pickup coil output that is comparable to the rotor of the generator. It goes through the fuse to the load. But on the second photograph, you see the second part of it that is connected to the big coil made out of the thin wire that is in analogy comparable to the electromagnet of the generator. Original video of Steven Mark, you would be able to see that the wiring is connected to a very small electronic board. There is a stabilizer, and it's comparable with our mechanical generator. The system is not allowing to reach the maximum speed on the generator. So the voltage that is inside the coil of the generator on the left will be comparable to the voltage on the Steven Marks TPU, about 600 and 700 volts. And then we have the interaction between those two coils of the Steven Mark, the same matter as we have an interaction of the electromagnetic device, which is the motor, between the coil and the metal of the rotor. So this, at start, we give it the voltage to the lower electromagnet, and there is no inductive coupling between those two coils, the upper and the lower one. So the lower electromagnet is needed only to start the TPU of Steven Marks, and the electronics being used to stabilize the signal. So by adjusting the voltage on the coil that is a starting coil, we would be able to use to regulate the voltage at the output coil. And of course, is that the reason that Steven Mark decided to start from the CRT is because the ability to use the magnetic field was first observed in the CRT for the purpose of mutual interaction between those two mentioned by me coils. Further down, he's showing the coil that is winded on the cardboard, and he's going to connect 10 volts and be able to take out of it 5 amps. So he's got 5 amps of DC at 10 volts. He checked the electromagnetic field on the coil and states that he's going to be winding the additionally secondary coils on it. So that's the transformer to the TPU, 4 winds. On the right hand side we see the pickup coil connected with the 2 thick winds for the auto stabilization for dynamic load in parallel to our electromagnet. He has made 5 more winds that he was planning originally, and he wants to regulate from 4 to 10 volts voltage, but he thinks that he would be able to go from 3 to 12 volts. And the reason for increasing the number of winds is to give the high voltage. Okay, he edged those 2 additional winds with the thick wire 6 quadrat gauge. That would be 6 centimeters square gauge, and connected, as you see on the picture, with the cross at one point. So he doesn't know really to the end of it how the auto stabilization is going to be working, but the voltage that will go to the load will go through those 2 winds. So the current that will be going through the load will go through those 2 winds. And you see by that current ability to amplify the voltage on the pickup coil, and that will give him the ability to correct the magnetic field between two. So that coil is primarily being used for the further experiments. So you see in here, he already put 4 coils. Those were on the schematics at 90 degrees. That recalls Lidman experiment and electromagnetic resonance phenomena, although there is no ferrite in here. And the thickness of the wire is 60 millimeter square. So you see from each of the 4 that were winded on each quadrant of that former, you see that you have a 4 short ends and the 4 long ends. Those 4 long ends were left over for the purpose of then overlap the adjacent coil. So you see, so the plus will go from the bottom, goes to the right, and goes out. So in other words, we have the overlapping section. That would be the 41 winds plus 8 winds, and 8 winds, that would be the overlapping winds. So what he says, he was using about 10 meters of wire for each of the 4 windings. So the plus goes from the bottom, goes all around to the right, plus, and this is the end. That will have the minus that is connected from the transistor. So you're going to recall at the beginning of this video the schematic with the 4 channels. Okay, now you see more winds, and you see a yellow wire. So what you see in here is the pickup coil. Although it looks confusing to you, it's only one coil with the 2 ends on it. It is winded all around on the top of all of the coils. And then if you look at the blue tape, you see the cross connection without the cutting of the wire. So the one is winded the left counterclockwise, goes up, goes left, goes here, goes left, goes over there, and then you see the 2 ends of it. But the rotation of the magnetic field will go in clockwise direction, even if the coil is winded counterclockwise. He's giving thank you for all of the people who were working with him and volunteer to give him more hints. And we're dealing with another video made of a quote would be the continuation of his design, where he said that the device didn't work, and simply because of the transistors that were applied. The switching transistors, and you understand, you see the board right now for transistors, so each 2 of them are phase and frequency dependent, so you could actually change the phase of transistor 1 versus the transistor 2 and versus transistor 3 versus transistor 4, so that would be like a 4 channels, but paired in 2 channels for each one. What he's trying to achieve by that is being able to control the rotation of the electromagnetic field. Although I may not understand what he meant by that fully, I'm not trying to discourage him. What he says, the transistors IGBTs that he ordered will come a few days from now, and those transistors that he has used simply don't do the job. So he has a 1 kilowatt of power working free energy device, and he does not concentrate himself on explaining how it works, which I may understand that he might try to protect his intellectual rights and turn our attention to something else. at the same time, don't lose our attention on him personally. He's fighting with few problems. One of the problems, positioning or dependency, which makes the device work without tuning in one place of the world, and it requires a lot of effort to have the device working in the other one. But it's very much important factor for us to know. At the same time, we know that Tariel Kapinaze was assembling a disassembly device and making the device from the scratch in the new location. I have, however, an idea which I shared with some of the people. What is really that makes the Tariel Kapinaze or Akua first device work? We need additional force that will make sustainability of the spark being independent of the electrical or resonance base changes in that very much dynamic structure. I'm gonna check that out, and if that's what it is, guys, I'm not gonna make a secret out of it. The word is full of akuas. Akua, akua is the word which means the shark, but he says about himself that he's a shark opposite to other sharks that we're trying to fight with. So stay tuned, guys. I'm gonna try to make it better for you. So let's go to some of the additions that Akua have made for us to know. Now he's trying to explain to one of the people the basic concepts. So you see the square signal 1.7 megahertz, and our transistor is opening the junction collector emitter junction, and the time of cutout. When I was doing an experiment 1.6 megahertz, I was able to reach the critical point. So I have right now 3 evenings that I could use, and I'm going to try to make it happen. So most of the people uses 3 coils connected, and 1 winding that is horizontally made along the former. So it's wired along the former. Okay, so the wire that you see wrapped around the former is what he calls collector winding, and you see the 2 coils inside. As he said, it could also be only the winding, 1 winding. So now he's drawing 1 receiving coil, which will be the pickup coil, and 2 coils that he calls corrector. So now we see the bifilar connection between them. The collector of the transistor is connected to one of them, and it will be driven by 1.4 megahertz, which will be 1400 kilohertz. And the second harmonics will be 2.7 megahertz. So he needs to have a transistor that would be capable of working on that given frequency. So whatever he has, he says, there's a possibility the transistor would be able to give the Karcher-like effect of the voltages over 1000 volt, but not over 1200 volts. Somewhere around that. And they are 20 amps withholding each one. And now we are at the last part of a series of videos dedicated to TPU by Akua. So let's go further to that part and wrap it up all together. Akua is explaining this part, what should be inside of the TPU. Steve Marks, in translation of Akua. He also explains that the word collector came directly from the place where the electrons are being collected. He names the red coil and the white coil collector coils. the red one is made with high frequency wire, and the white one is made with the Litz wire. The Litz wire is where you have a number of wires isolated one from each other. Then you have a dual EVLR clear wire winded at 90 degrees wrapped around, and he calls it collector as well. Collector is wrapped around. There are two parallel wires in clear insulation. One wire is connected to the generator and in series, and through the generator is connected to the oscilloscope, and the other one is connected to another parallel wire into it that is connected only to the oscilloscope. So the upper signal is this generator and one of the clear wires, and the other one is just another wire that is in parallel to it in the same insulation. He shows that he doesn't have a change in phase. If you could imagine that you would have a square shaped signal, you would have the same time base for it. So there is no change. So now what he did is, once he has the magnetic field from the generator, now he's trying to play with the two winds. The white winding is the Litz wire with the ends connected together of all of the wires, and the red wire, which is the high frequency wire. The yellow upper shape is from the red wire, and the lower one is the Litz wire response. And now you see on the spectrum analyzer on the right hand side the Litz wire connected. And again, he's trying to say that he doesn't see the significant difference. So the wire that is wrapped around is the one that is creating a steady magnetic field, what would be giving frequency steady magnetic field. He left over one of the clear winds not connected, and he's using the horizontal winds. Okay, so we don't see any difference. Of course, we have a 90 degrees winds, because the one that is wound around is at 90 degrees to the one that is wound along the former. And now he's going to change the spectrum analyzer in the second of the horizontal coil from inside. Okay, he's going to put a marker on the maximum of the peak of the amplitude. So he's at maximum, we have a 2.3 megahertz or kilohertz, I didn't see that. And he's changing from the Litz wire. Now he disconnects, so you don't have anything on the spectrum analyzer, and he connects that to the red wire, which he calls the high frequency wire. And he says that there is no difference. And the frequency of response is exactly the same. No change in phase on oscilloscope. Now he's changing the frequency on the generator. Okay, he has 769 kilohertz, just a random frequency that he chose. So he says, even though we change the frequency, there is no change. So the transforming factor from one winds to another winds, even though that we have a 90 degrees geometrical difference of the direction of the winds, he says, doesn't change anything. Okay, he's going to come back to the Litz wire. At the end, Akua states that even though we have a different conductors in one magnetic field, even though that we change the frequency of the generator, they react exactly the same. So I would say, he's trying to say that the dependency between the fields is in the same ratio.